Welcome to Campfire Conspiracies, where the fire is warm but the stories send a chill down your spine.
Wait, did you hear that?
So, Summer,
Yes, sir.
do you remember when last episode we were talking about dogs and colorblindness?
Right, yeah.
Right, yeah. And I said that I had that like theory in my head when I was a kid.
The theory. Yeah,
the theory
yeah.
about dogs being black and white colorblind, and I even until fairly recently thought that they were black and white colorblind.
I'm pretty sure I said in the podcast they're not. But anyway, I don't really know much about it.
But I didn't believe you because you know I hadn't done research.
Never.
I assumed that they were black and white colorblind, and remember when I was talking about how I was a kid and I thought that they sort of like only thought that they were black and white colorblind.
Oh, because of those tests.
Because they would have dissected the eyes afterwards and stuff, and you were like, no, they probably just did like sight tests and stuff.
Sight tests, yeah.
And yeah, so I thought, this morbid thought of them dissecting eyes and stuff, and compared it to a camera lens. Well, my little sister Rachel, hi Rachel,
Hi.
she was listening to our last episode, and she messaged me on Facebook while listening to it, and she said something along the lines of, "Hey, so I feel the need to inform you that dogs don't just see the color gray. So they do see the color gray. I was right in that regard.
Okay.
But they have 3 color spectrums, I think she said. I don't think spectrums was the word she used. Receptors, I think she said.
Right.
But they also see blue and yellow.
Oh, okay.
Which got me thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Do they see green then? Because,
because it's a mixture. Yeah,
blue and yellow make green. And it also made me wonder, why do so many different toys for, like, why do they cater to, like, I know they have, like, gender-specific toys and stuff,
they
where they
really
have, like, pink and they have blue and stuff.
Too much of it, yep.
But why even bother with, like...
because they can only see one of them.
Yeah, because they can only see blue. And maybe if their sight works the same sort of way as humans, maybe they see, like, a shade of whatever, like a pigment in the pink. That would be closer to yellow or closer to blue or something like that.
Like a peachy.
Well, yeah, because you imagine because pink is a paler red, right?
Yeah.
So it has to have like a yellow
so
or
it has
even
that bit of, a
lighter blue in it to make it.
Darcy has so many toys that he wouldn't be able to see in any form then.
Well, yeah, but then we were cleaning up the patio today, and I found that tennis ball. I'm not 100% sure it was his, but it was blue and like a yellow or green. But it was faded, so yeah. So it got me thinking maybe that's why they chose those specific colors for that ball, was because of...
We need to go shopping at Pet Barn and just decipher this.
Yes, we do.
But then Darcy has just one that's crazy colors, just every single color.
Yeah, but he doesn't play with either of them because he's not a dog, so...
He's an older dog, yeah.
Yeah, and he's blind in one eye, which is why we actually started talking about blindness in the first place, was because of Darcy. Because he's actually got a cataract in his right eye, and he's going blind in his left eye.
Poor
guy. He's old.
Yeah. He's not a puppy with cataracts.
No. Could you imagine? It'd be like a Benjamin Button situation.
No, I don't want to imagine that.
No. But yeah, that was so. Yeah, I got schooled by my.
You got schooled.
I got schooled by my 21-year-old sister.
Yay!
Wait. Yeah, she's 21. I had to check.
Oh.
I was doing maths. She's 21.
You'll be schooled again.
She's 21. 22 this year.
Oh.
She's getting too old. Anyway, have you got any news?
Oh my god. Have I got news? Thank you for the segue. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right, so I want to talk about Lord of the Flies. Have you heard of that book, movie?
I am ashamed to say that I haven't read or seen.
Okay. Do you have
but I know,
like a vague idea of...
No, but I know but I know of the title.
Okay.
It's a Stephen King thing, right?
It is.
Yeah, okay. So I'm not that much of a loser. What about it?
Okay. So Lord of the Flies is it's a book and a movie Stephen King that focuses on a group of kind of British boys stranded on an island. And it's Stephen King. So things go freaking apeshit. Nasty things happen. They tear each other apart.
So we're talking like if Castaway was rated 18 and there was more Tom Hanks.
No.
No?
No. It's not about them going crazy. It's about them going violent.
I mean, violence is a
kind of crazy. Okay, they go crazy and violent.
So they go crazy violent.
Yep.
Okay.
Are we happy now?
I'm with you.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So if you have heard out there of Lord of the Flies, you're aware of the book, the story. You may be interested to know that it's come out that there actually has been a group of schoolboys marooned on an island. It happened in 1965.
That's when my mum was born.
Ah. And instead of it being this horror story, they actually banded together. They had a kind of society going. They all survived for 15 months on this island where, they actually worked together, including when someone had his leg broken.
How? Like, was it broken when they were marooned on the island?
No, an accident on the island, okay. I believe. So it was broken. They actually did, some first aid. I assume put a bit of what is it called? A splinter?
A splint.
A splint. A splint on it. And it healed. It actually healed. He could walk on it. Yeah, fully recovered. That's pretty amazing.
Do you think maybe, because, I mean, yes, bones breaking can be obvious, but they also, sometimes aren't. Like when I was 8, I broke my arm and my dad didn't believe that it was broken because it didn't look broken. But it was broken. It was an impacted fracture. And do you think it was like a visible break, like bone like protruding towards the skin or even like ripped through the skin kind of thing? Because
I'm afraid it didn't mention, but the boys truly believed that it was a broken bone. And things they were taking care of. So they actually were found 15 months into this. They were found and they did get proper medical care and everything. So that could, I'm making the assumption, that they would have been able to x-ray and then definitely be able to tell, right?
You'd think, yeah. That's cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was just a bit of actually positive news.
From 1965.
From 1965. Well, it's just been uncovered.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Or published, I guess, not uncovered.
It's also been made, it's probably old news now by the time that the episode's uploaded, because it was a few weeks ago now that it was made official, but the US have said that aliens are real, or UFOs at least are real.
Yeah.
They've released that footage.
They've released footage that shows unidentified flying objects, yes.
And nobody gave a shit because of everything that's going on right now.
True. Yeah. I think they did that deliberately.
I think that's, I
think a lot of governments are doing that kind of crap right now. Or was that bill that we found really hard to get through? Why don't we do it now? Because
just slip it under the rug.
No one's noticing this. And another thing I'd like to bring up, actually, is now we're pretty even, pretty tied as far as voting goes.
As far as voting goes for the contest.
Competitive side kind of coming out now.
Yep. And we'd like to spread the gap a little bit. I'm sure Summer would like to be winning by a higher percentage.
Yes, exactly.
I would like to be winning. So to get more of you involved and to get you wanting to actually vote on the episodes, we decided that we'd give you a bit of an incentive.
So thank you everyone who has voted, much appreciated. Want to let you guys know that now you will be in a draw
Yes.
A little competition we're going to do. We're not quite sure what the prize is. Please look out on social medias for that. But yeah, we really wanted to encourage people to vote. And yeah, every single vote is actually a entry into this competition. More news coming later.
Obviously, 1 vote per episode.
Yeah, yeah, sorry. That's going to be one of the rules, yeah.
Yes. Another rule is it only counts if you vote for me.
No, that's not another. No. Cool. So with that, this episode's competition, we're doing anything to do with kind of an alien conspiracy. Yeah. All right, guys. So mine is, I'll admit, a bit loose, but it's one of my favorite stories that has kind of this alien theory on it. So I had to do it. Cool. Alrighty. Once upon a time in Suffolk, England, in the 13th century, there lived 2 small green children. Yes, you heard me. Green.
Green.
Yes. A young green girl and boy. The story goes that in the village of Woolpit, named after these ancient pits made to trap wolves, gonna be assuming that like werewolves were a problem way back when. Reapers working the field first saw these children emerging from a cave. The reapers couldn't understand their strange language, strange clothing, nor understand why they would emerge from these caves. What was most strange, though, obviously about these kids, is their skin had this ungodly green hue.
Are we talking like Mr. Burns in that episode when everyone thinks he's an alien?
Not glowing. As far as I read, they were not glowing.
Okay.
But yes, that sort of thing without the glow.
Cool.
Yep. They were welcomed in by Sir Richard de Caen, a knight living in nearby Wilkes, who found it exceedingly hard to get them to eat anything. Numerous meals were put in front of them, but they screamed with hunger until a last-ditch effort attempted to persuade them with raw, broad beans.
Beans. Yo.
Green beans. Finally, recognition. The cries softened as they began to gorge themselves on these little green beans. Whilst after a few weeks of eating only these beans, the girl decided to eat other foods presented to her and lost her green hue. The boy still refused anything but beans, and within a year had passed. I'm sure the girl mourned for her brother, but did adapt to her new life in Woolpit. Once she had a fair grasp on the English language, she was able to tell her story before her arrival in the village.
What was her story?
I shall tell you.
Please do.
She said she lived in a land that always was in twilight, called St. Martin's Land, where everyone was green. Across a considerable river, they could see a luminous land.
Are you sure it wasn't lost in translation and she actually meant St. Martin's Land?
Oh, if you want to talk about, I will talk about translation in a while because obviously 13th century, there's been a few translations of this. It could be completely different story back then. But anyway, one day when tending to her father's flock, they followed strange sounds into a cave and followed through into the almost blinding sunlight of Woolpit.
It's the Pied Piper. That's what the sound was.
Actually, it was church bells. Strange to them, but it was church bells. Yeah. Taking time to rest, they wished to fly when they heard the voices of the reapers, but couldn't escape in time back into those caves. She stayed in the village as a maid, taking the name Agnes Barr. Of all the names, Agnes. Anyway.
It's a pretty old-fashioned name, so it kind of suits the times, I guess.
Maybe it was the Angelina of the 13th century. She married Richard Barr, who was a senior ambassador, and I hope lived as happily ever after as one can back in medieval times.
Did she have any kids?
Right. So probably, yes. People say that they are descendants of her.
Well, yeah, but you'd want to be, wouldn't you?
I would want to say that. Yeah.
Anyone would want to say that.
Richard Barr was a real person. I believe he did have a wife, and I think he did have a kid. But apart from that, there wasn't really a lot of records about. Honestly, there is freak all about Agnes. Yeah, because that's 13th century. She's a woman.
Yeah. There was a lot of fires in those days too, so whatever records there would have been.
There's a lot of horrible things happening.
Well, yeah.
Back then.
If they even bothered to keep records. If they even bothered to keep records, like a lot of them would have been burnt or ruined. Or...
Yeah, and that is exactly what I want to talk about. So one thing, straight up. 2 of the main sources of information people cite for this story are scholars in the 13th century that had to be translated from Latin. Ralph of Coggeshall, an English chronicler, who actually knew Sir Richard, wrote a passage on these events in 1207, Chronicon Anglicanum, which, and there was another source, another English chronicler was William of Newburgh, an educated monk from Yorkshire, in his 1220 Historia Requiem Anglicarum. Historical, just your first take on that.
Latin.
Whatever, Latin. So yeah, they were both monks in the church. They do not need to cite, their references or anything like that.
Yeah, because monks don't lie.
They heard the story from, sources they thought were reputable.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's a story. That's it. But not to say it couldn't have happened. It's just, historians weren't really historians back then, in my opinion.
I mean, monks, from what I know, really just like the scribe.
Yeah.
They were basically just the scribes of history.
Yeah, but he was the one that got to decide what.
Yeah.
They decided what was going to go into these books.
Point,
yeah.
So like, they were the ones that would write and rewrite the Bibles and things like that. But yeah, they were known for writing whatever they deemed acceptable for future historians to be able to
and
read.
And a few of the other stories in those books were superstition. We know that they're not true. But if I'm being honest, a part of me also thinks about the fact that a lot of urban legends, a lot of fairy tales, they actually do have some kind of truth in them, some kind of historical context. There was a real person who was, Snow White's evil mother and all that kind of stuff. There really was people like that. So I think there'd be a hint of some kind of truth within this story.
That's the thing. With every fairy tale, there is some sort of underlying truth to it.
Yeah. I mean, hell, even nursery rhymes.
Yeah. Like the Brothers Grimm, their stories are, albeit probably far-fetched, but there is some sort of truth to it, whether it was folklore that they wrote about or whatever. It is tales that were told
inspired by true events.
Yeah, exactly.
Theory number 1.
Go.
This is England's first aliens.
Okay.
They were green.
Yep.
Spoke an unrecognizable language.
Yep.
From a land of permanent sunset, where all they ate were beans and were green people and all that jazz. In a 1621 book, The Anatomy of Melancholy, one of your faves, right?
Yep, another one.
Robert Burton wrote that the children fell from heaven.
Okay.
Leading some, obviously, to believe aliens. In 1996, so quite a lot later, Duncan Lunan, a Scottish author, theorized in an article for Analog they were transported to Earth accidentally.
Through like a wormhole or a tractor beam or something like that.
Oh, I can't. I try to read it and understand it. Some people within this theory have also gravitated towards the fact that they might have lived beneath the Earth's surface, a hollow Earth theory.
Well, they weren't scaly, so they weren't lizard people.
Well, we don't know. Maybe they were scaly.
Maybe.
Every theory does have this kind of underground aspect in some way or another, I guess, because obviously they came from caves. But with this one, it's that it's a race of aliens, humanoid lizard creatures that live under the ground. This theory is pretty simple.
Yeah.
Next theory is, I consider to be overly complicated, even though the ones that gravitate towards this one think it's the most reasonable explanation.
Do you think it's the most reasonable?
Nope.
Okay. Just nope.
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 I think it's an interesting theory.
Okay. So we'll just leave it at that.
Theory number 2.
Yep.
Orphaned Flemish immigrants with malnutrition.
Okay. Well, malnutrition, sure. Orphans, yeah. What's Flemish?
Belgium.
Okay. So they escaped across, because it's the UK. The English Channel wasn't built yet because that's 700 years away.
So people were going across the channel.
Yeah, but they would have. I meant like the tunnel under the.
No. No.
That's what I'm saying. Like
on ships.
Yeah. Because this is like 700 years before that.
Yeah.
600.
But the immigration was happening due to overpopulation.
Yeah.
Then to get out.
They would have stowed away on ships and done whatever they could to get out. Yeah.
In this theory, it's that their parents died due to ethnic cleansing that was happening in England on Flemish immigrants at this time.
Right.
And around 15 kilometres away in Fonham, St. Martin's, there are woodlands that are darker than the open fields of Woolpit where they were found. A place that, hypothetically, if you're an outcast immigrant, maybe you would go into these dark forests that maybe your only food source would be raw food.
Yeah.
Maybe not just beans, but, raw vegetables in the forest. And because you're living permanently in this forest, minimal light.
Yeah.
If they were immigrants, of course, this would explain then the foreign clothes, the foreign tongue.
Yeah.
It's within this theory, it's either that the large measurable river was either the sea, the travel to England, or a large river system in between.
Yeah.
St. Martin's and Woolpit, which I disagree with because I looked it up on Google Maps. Yes, I appreciate 13th century would look different. I just feel like that's not anywhere near big enough. But for a kid, maybe a sea would be a river and translation and blah, blah, blah. The idea is they also suffered from what was called at the time green sickness.
What's green sickness?
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of an absurd diagnosis.
Right.
It's been long connected to hysteria. And if you want to look up some of those ridiculous medieval cures, look at this one because it includes just getting a penis.
Getting a penis?
Up your vagina.
Oh. I thought like
literally cutting off a penis.
No. I thought it was literally telling women to grow a pair.
Oh.
That's where I took it.
No.
Not get some dick in you.
Okay. Is to get married.
And then get some dick in you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking women grow a pair, men man up kind of thing. Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be fair to this more medical side, the malnutrition side, there is hypochromic anemia that can cause a slight green hue to the skin. To a superstitious village, maybe that was exaggerated.
Yeah, because I don't know about hypochromic anemia, but I did go to school with a girl who had anemia of some sort, and her skin was a lot paler and of a different hue. I think it was more of a blue.
You don't have the pink as much.
The pigment of her skin was not pink. It was pale.
Yeah. Her tale does sound quite fanciful.
Yeah. Within
this theory, though, we don't know how old she was when she told it. And maybe her imagination of her childhood, let's face it, trauma, created this more fairy tale-ic idea, this story for her.
Yeah.
And also I was thinking, looking more into this theory, if you were these kids, why would you want to be truthful if your parents have been murdered?
Yeah.
If this ethnic cleansing happened, you lost your parents, you ran away, and you were malnourished, and then you were told you were green and foreign, and what the hell's happened? You were probably discriminated. You were probably bullied because you only ate beans for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe don't tell those people the truth.
That's another thing though, right? Like, and I know it's TV again, so a large part of it is fiction, but you'd like to think that the writers did their research. But that episode of House where that guy ate nothing but like carrots or something.
Oh, and he turned orange.
And he turned orange. That could literally be all it was. Because
so this is kind of the opposite end in that it's because they ate so little.
Yeah. Or because they ate so many beans, and beans can be green or other different colors.
But we're looking at more anemia, so it's just that they didn't eat a variety of food that obviously included enough iron for them to be healthy. But a more well-rounded diet that they were getting over time, their green hue would be lifted.
Yeah, because you did say that they were eating...
The girl did.
The girl did. What was it?
But the boy
died. But the girl started eating real food. Yeah.
And that would happen if you were determined, stubborn little boy who wouldn't eat anything but what you're used to. Then your malnutrition unfortunately would kill you.
And then of course on the flip side, the girl wanting to goes in with the theory you were talking about with the ethnic cleansing. So over time, this girl, from a different country would want to be fitting in. So instead of eating beans, like even if she was, like you said, living out in the woods, like because coming over from a different country, she probably would have only been able to carry a certain amount of food with her, and the easiest thing to carry might have been beans. So that's all she was eating for months and months and months. Which would be why she was getting so malnourished and everything like that. And if her and her brother were hiding out in the woods with her parents or without her parents, and then they died, and then she comes in, it would make more sense for her to cultivate to a normal lifestyle with different people. Well, with the culture that she's trying to grow up in, to sort of hide who she really is. So instead of being this person that grew up on a farm or whatever and ate beans because that's all that she could. Because remember, back in those days, farmers would eat their produce. That was like...
Well, yeah, but in the story, they actually refer to their father as a sheep herder.
Yeah.
Or is it a sheep? They were herding their father's flock.
Right.
My image was sheep. Probably because of the whole wool pit thing.
Yeah. I don't know. We could talk about it all day. Like, there's so many different things that it could be. So
with that, I will move on to the third theory.
The third theory. How many theories do you have? 3. Okay, cool.
Don't worry, you poor little head over it.
No, my head's getting so full of ideas.
So the last one is that it was just a folktale.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's boring.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, I don't believe those records were valid that much.
Well, considering there wasn't many records.
Yeah, they cited their sources as reliable, but
didn't give
they
their
lived...
sources, right?
What?
They didn't give their sources,
No.
though, did they? So
No. Well, one of them was Richard.
Yeah.
But no, they didn't actually cite them. Yeah, so one of the things I was thinking is there is a chance that if they're living in the same time as Richard, then she might be alive, or at least her, her children would be. So why didn't they speak to her? And yes, I know the answer to that. I'm not an idiot, but really freaking annoying. I mean, she was considered wanton, actually, when she was working as a maid. Maybe they thought she was too much temptation being monks. I don't know. But yeah, they never talked to her. They never talked to her husband.
Yeah.
And the Reapers that first saw them. Just this, yeah. So that kind of... So people within the theory that could have validated their story, they didn't talk to.
Yeah.
I mean, classism, sexism, I know all that stuff. It's really irritating, though.
It's the bread and butter of society.
One thing that they say against this, though, is a tale usually has a fanciful ending.
Yeah.
You know? This one didn't. And that's something that leads away from it. But I think it's still a pretty amazing tale.
Yeah.
These superstitious historians heard this tale and wrote it as fact, so maybe they didn't think they needed to do...
Yeah.
Yeah, it needed to sound like it was a tale.
But then again, though, going back to the Brothers Grimm, like those stories did not have fanciful endings. They weren't fantastical.
They were fantastical.
Yeah, but they weren't like live happily ever after.
No, but they were fantastical.
So, well, yeah, but when you say like fantastical and like fanciful and stuff, you think, Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, gets her Prince Charming and lives a long happy life with children and family and friends and shit like that. But
no, you don't. I'm sorry, I'm going to fight you on this.
Why?
No, I think they have very fanciful endings just because they're not happily ever after, and even those that are, there's usually some kind of darkness to it. It's just more that it's no ending. There's no real ending for her. There's no real ending even for Sir Richard, or a conclusion of what happened to them. The reason there's so many theories, including more than the 3 that I've stated, is because there was no real conclusion to her story.
But then, for all we know, like, the conclusion could have got lost.
Yes, true.
In the records, like. So.
There is also kind of a relation to other stories, including, okay, so this is one, children being poisoned with this arsenic dye concoction. The stories usually come from the fact that within dyes, they would put arsenic into it.
Yeah.
And in this case, it was green, turned the corpses of these children green.
Right, yeah.
There's also a tale very, very, very similar in Spain, as in even the names sound quite similar, but probably was just stolen.
So instead of St. Martin, it'd be like St. Martin's or something like that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And then there's also just the general, Babes in the Wood story that they, lend themselves to quite easily. Speaking of, actually, on Instagram, please, guys, check out Sketch, Babe in the Woods. Fantastic project. Definitely worth a look. Okay. Another thing that really annoyed me, their birth names were never recorded. It was just boy and girl. But why would you need that in a tale,
It's like someone wrote a script and we're like, we'll just put the names in later.
Just like, yeah.
We just need the bare bones of the script.
Which ones did they choose? Agnes
and the boy never got the chance, so.
And Richard's blah. Okay. What my kind of continue on theory is. So a few people have had this theory, and this is the one that I latch onto within this theory, is that these children were like the Celtic Green Man. He's a god depicted as green with kind of leaves instead of hair sprouting from around his face.
Right.
My kind of god. Okay. Beans within Celtic and Roman cultures can actually be associated with death.
Right.
A treat for the ghosts. Yeah. Like, unfortunately, the boy became, kind of lending again to the tale, having that symbolism. I imagine from these religious men's perspective, though, the story of children of an old god, one of them dying because he refused to submit, and another living by the grace of God as she repented her sinful past, would be quite amusing to him. To them, sorry.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question, actually.
Yeah.
So she started eating before he died, yeah? Like eating better food before he died.
Yes. So the tale, as it's written, says that he died within a year, and that after a few weeks, she started trying other food.
Right.
So interpret that however you wish.
Because if you interpret that she started eating better food after he died, because she thought maybe she was seeing his ghost. Because like you said, the beans are...
ghost.
And so to try and stop seeing his ghost, she started eating other food because she was tormented by it and she wanted to move on and start living a normal life.
Good theory. I like that one. Yeah, it's very cool.
Theory number 4.
All right. And the reason why I like kind of this idea that it has to do with the Celtic Green Man is the Celtic gods, now referred to kind of as fairies, were said to escape below the earth, hidden from the cruelty of man in Tuatha De Danann.
Cool.
They could have come up from Tuatha De Danann after eating more earthly foods and being up here. Yeah, they're, fairies are known, and gods definitely are known to be able to shapeshift.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, she just decided she wanted to stay up here and not go back down.
Not only that, but it's been like written in like fables and things of gods and fairies and things like that.
Yeah.
Becoming human. Yeah. Because they've become gluttonous or other human traits have sort of like overtaken them. So if they started partaking of human food instead of eating these beans, which could have been, God.
It's kind of like Persephone, like reversed, kind of.
Yeah. It's
actually not really like Persephone at all, just, beans.
But like it's their way of, accepting themselves as being humans or, being punished for, maybe they were sent away by, by other gods or whatever and sent to Earth to be human because they'd done something wrong, up or down, wherever
in this case it's down.
It's down, yeah.
And another thing I just realized I forgot is in the second theory. So you know how I said all of them have this underground element to them? In the second theory, it's that there was actually mining going on and that they could have followed
so
these
there
mines.
Could have been mining going on from St.
Got lost in a mine, came out a cave. Yeah.
There could be mining from St. Martin's to
somehow all the way 15 kilometers.
Yeah.
Like it's
That's a while.
It's a while. Especially for a little kid.
Yeah.
Malnourished
little kids,
little kid. Anyway. But so those are my theories. My favorite, being Tuatha De Danann little kitties.
Cool. Interesting story.
The reason I chose this one is listening to the other theories that there were immigrants, that it's a folk tale. The alien theory actually doesn't sound that ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot with alien conspiracy theories is listen to them because they're not the craziest theory out there.
Yeah.
My genuine thought is I don't believe it.
Yeah.
But I will listen to those people. I mean, I will not listen to Fell from the Heavens. Dude, caves. Very, very important thing about it.
That was like the main part of it. That was the beginning of the story. They came from caves.
But like shape-shifting and everything, to Earth Dannon, hell yeah, also for aliens. But just generally that...
Unless they meant fell from the heavens in the same way that Satan did. Like Lucifer fell from the heavens and became... So them coming from the caves is them
hell.
Raising from hell, yeah.
I think you like this story more than I do.
I just like the theories that you could sort of like loosely intertwine with it. It's just...
yeah. I mean, people have been theorizing for 700 years, 600 years. So
there's a lot of meat to strip off the bones. So I guess it's my turn then. I don't know how I'm going to top that.
Damn straight.
So you spoke about little green men and women.
Well, boy and girl.
Boy and girl, man and woman. Whatever. Little green people.
Yes.
I am speaking about an encounter.
Of the third kind?
Yes.
Oh, wait. No, it's of the fourth kind. No, what is that movie?
It's Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Of the third... Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
The Third Kind is a Spielberg movie, so...
Yeah. You know.
I'm sure. Are you aware of the story of Kelly Cahill?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, this is the curious case of Kelly Cahill.
The curious case, okay.
Yeah. I came up with the title myself.
Nice.
It should be said first that the name Kelly Cahill is a pseudonym, apparently. Her real name...
So then I definitely don't know this person.
No. Her real name is not mentioned as she did not want to put her family in potential harm and wanted the privacy. On August 8th, 1993, while driving through Dandenong Mountains in Victoria, Australia...
Oh!
With her husband...
So this is an Aussie tale.
It's another Aussie tale, yep.
Oh,
I think for the second episode in a row. 27-year-old mother of three, Kelly Cahill saw what appeared to be a large blimp with bright orange lights several hundred meters away. As they got closer, the object looked less like a blimp, and what first appeared to be orange lights now seemed to be round orange windows. Windows, yep.
Okay.
Through which Kelly claims she could see dark figures.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. As Kelly processed what she saw, the unknown craft shot off to the left of the car and vanished out of sight. It didn't it shot off to the left and then just disappeared. It didn't
Oh, okay.
It just went
disappeared.
And then sort of fade.
They're magicians. Boom.
No.
Oh, okay.
They drove for another couple of kilometers, turning a corner where they saw a large wall of light spread across the entire road.
Oh, yeah.
Kelly started screaming hysterically and asked her husband what they were going to do. Her husband told her he'd keep driving through the light, but as soon as he'd started to drive through the light, it vanished, and Kelly felt immediately calm and relaxed. She asked her husband if she had passed out, but he couldn't give her an answer, as he didn't know what had happened either. This is where the story starts to get interesting.
Do tell.
I'm about to. When the couple arrived home, they realized they couldn't recall between an hour and an hour and a half of their time that night. Kelly also noticed a foul, vomit-like odor, but couldn't make out where it was coming from. As she readied herself for bed, she also noticed a strange triangular marking just below her navel. It was quite small, but very red and looked almost like a burn mark, similar to being branded. Over the next couple of weeks, she was taken to hospital twice due to severe stomach pains. Other reports say she unexpectedly began menstruating, which was odd because she wasn't due for a few weeks.
Well, I mean, that happens.
It happens, but she just had her period, so
it still happens, yeah. But okay, yeah.
Doctors ran a pregnancy test, which came back negative, and many other tests to try and find out what was causing the pain. They eventually found out that she'd had a womb infection, but despite knowing what she had, they couldn't figure out how she had it or what had caused it.
Damn, okay.
Yeah. A few weeks later, she started to remember the missing period of time on that fateful night in August 1993. She states that she recalls seeing a craft in a field on the side of the road, the same craft that she'd seen in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
She claimed it was about the width of an Olympic swimming pool and 2 stories tall. There was orange lights and this blue stuff underneath. It was like science fiction coming to life, she'd said in an interview. Her husband pulled over to the side of the road and they got out of the car to go and get a closer look. She also remembers that about 100 meters behind them, another car had pulled up and 2 women and a man got out. Behind that car was another, of which 1 man got out.
This is quite a crowd then for an alien sighting. Cool.
Yeah. Kelly and her husband didn't know any of these other people, and to this day, they've never spoke with them. They've never met.
Okay, yeah.
All of them began to walk towards the craft as if there was an invisible force drawing them closer to it. Kelly Cahill felt a frequency pulsate through her body. The feeling was intense and started to make her feel uneasy and disoriented. She was fighting to think straight, like something else had taken control of her mind. This is what made the fear start to kick in. The couple witnessed a 7-foot-tall figure standing in front of the craft. The figure was quite dark, almost black in color, and as Kelly started to scream, its eyes lit up red.
Dark? Because there's a few types of aliens that you hear in abduction stories. You don't...
There's the tall greys, the short greys, and the greens.
Yeah, the Nordics. But this is
yeah, but this is different.
And red eyes too.
Yeah.
Okay.
The husband had a theory as to what they were, which I'll tell you about later.
Please do.
Yeah. Not long after, several other beings began to appear in the field. Their eyes too were lighting up red. The beings started to approach Kelly and her husband. A small group of them broke off and started towards the other people. The next thing Kelly felt was a blow to the stomach.
Oh.
The impact felt like being electrocuted, and it knocked her to the ground. She claimed she was temporarily blinded and was unable to breathe due to the blow, which can happen under regular circumstances. I mean, you get hit hard enough, you'll see stars. Her husband was yelling at someone or something to get their hands off of him. She heard a deep, presumably male voice saying, "You have nothing to worry about. We mean you no harm."
Sure.
Meanwhile, Kelly is laid on the ground, blinded, winded, and in pain. Sure, they meant no harm.
Yeah.
Kelly then tried with all of her strength to get up. She suddenly felt a hand touch her shoulder and that same unfamiliar voice say, "Someone do something about her." This is where the event ends. The next thing she remembers is being in her car with her husband seconds after driving through that wall of light. In the 5 months that followed, Kelly Cahill claimed to experience what she called night visitations. She would be asleep in bed and wake up suddenly to see one of these dark, 7 feet tall creatures standing over her, their red eyes glowing as bright as ever. While she admitted it's possible that these experiences were just night terrors.
Night terrors or even PTSD.
She also said they were too scary and they felt very real.
Yeah.
In those months, Kelly and her husband also experienced electrical issues with their home. Light bulbs would constantly blow, the TV would turn on and off, and they'd hear their car turn over when they were nowhere near it. And when her husband ran out to catch whoever he thought was trying to steal it, the car was turned off, all the doors locked, and no evidence of an attempted thief was found. No broken windows, no cut wires or anything like that. After these experiences, Kelly decided she needed to do more research into what had happened. She had to know the truth. Her husband was adamant she didn't go down that rabbit hole. He denied any of the abduction happening for a long time until he decided there was no point in lying, and stated he did remember that night. He just didn't want to talk about it and didn't want anyone knowing what had happened.
Okay.
The reason for this is because Kelly and her husband were very religious. Him more than her.
I mean, I think even if you're not religious, it's a hard pill to swallow, this kind of abduction story.
He thought that those black creatures or dark creatures with red eyes were demons, and he didn't want...
Oh, of course, black. Yeah.
And he didn't want anyone knowing about his own demons, like personal demons, things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
In some interviews, Kelly has actually mentioned that her and her husband had split, And it seems that the reason is because of the events of that night.
He didn't support you afterwards. That would do it.
Yeah. When Kelly sought answers from researchers at the Paranormal Phenomena Australia, a group who I've done extensive Googling for and couldn't find a single article or anything on.
Did you look past the first page?
Yes.
All right.
That's what extensive means.
So 2, 3?
Maybe 4.
Alrighty then.
They asked her to draw a picture of what she'd seen. She drew a picture of what these aliens looked like, as well as the spacecraft. What she didn't know is that about 6 weeks after she went to the PPA, the group of 3 people from the second car also came forward. And they had an eerily similar story, without even knowing about or speaking to Kelly beforehand. The people from the second car were Jane, Glenda, and Phil. No last names were given. When they reached out to the PPA, they were also asked to draw what they had seen. Their drawings were almost identical to Kelly's. If that wasn't weird enough, Jane and Glenda also had triangles under their navels, and both also experienced the severe stomach pains. Jane and Glenda also had 3 dots on the inside of their thighs, which Kelly did not have.
So, can I ask, if this institute isn't, easily found at least, who's this recounting from?
I think this is her own story.
Okay.
Yeah. She actually wrote a book.
So this is her point of view. Okay. Oh, okay.
She wrote a book, and I tried to find a copy of it. It published 20,000 copies in Australia and then 20,000 worldwide.
Right.
It stopped printing shortly after publishing, and you can buy a copy on eBay for about $500.
I'm good.
Glenda also had restraint marks around her ankles and remembers being strapped to a table. The only man to have any physical evidence of the abduction was the man from the third car.
Sexist aliens. That's my theory.
I'm thinking, what's it called when, when you get a group of men to do testing for they test drugs on humans, human guinea pigs. Yeah. But there's a term for it. I can't remember the term, but I think that's what they want. They wanted a sample from
of women.
Well, it was a man in the last car.
Right.
So it wasn't just
mainly
women. I think it was just a sample from each car that stopped, and because there was only one person in that car, they decided to just go for him.
But a sample, then the second car. Why not just one of the people then?
I don't know. So the only man to have any physical evidence of the abduction was the man from the third car, who had the marks on his ankle, the restraints. The 3 dots on his inner thigh, and the triangle. So he had all 3.
Wow. Yep.
Of the markings. That Glenda was the only one to have all 3, because she had the ankle restraints as well. Both Phil and Kelly's husband did not have these marks, so they didn't have any marks at all.
If you weren't sampled,
they weren't cool enough.
They weren't cool enough. Oh my god.
Kelly was relieved to find out that more people could corroborate her story.
Of course, yeah.
The lack of support from her husband had made her feel like she was alone, and she thought she was going insane. She'd begun to wonder if she'd hallucinated the whole ordeal, and even went as far as to have her brain scanned because she thought something was wrong with her head.
Wow.
Due to the amount of eyewitness accounts, the most thorough investigation of a UFO encounter in Australia was conducted.
Real? Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
Aerial and infrared shots were taken over the field where the UFO was spotted. Monash University even got involved and sent out people to take soil samples. On the field where the incident took place, a triangular mark was found.
It's the pyramid aliens. They're so obsessed with triangles.
It's the Illuminati.
It's the Illuminati, yeah.
The triangular mark was made up of the chemical pyrene, which doesn't naturally occur in fields like that. Though I did a quick Google search on pyrene, and it shows that pyrene is used in some pesticides. So if the field had been used previously for harvesting of crops of some kind,
maybe a possible reason.
There's a possible reason there would be a trace. But it does say that the triangle the triangular mark was made up of the chemical pyrene, which would mean there would be a huge trace of it there, like a large quantity.
What does pyrene do? Like what it?
It's just, I don't know what it does, but it's part of what is in pesticides, and pesticides are used to keep bugs away from food that are growing, and to keep food fresher and make them grow bigger and be more profitable and valuable in stores and stuff. There was also a semicircle with an electromagnetic field. Okay. Over the years, different researchers have looked into this case, and it hasn't been disproved. It also hasn't been proved, but it hasn't been disproved, which says a lot. Nowadays, it's hard to track down Kelly Cahill, but in the past, she's gone to UFO conventions to talk about her story, apparently, which I find weird, because if you'd want to have a pseudonym, Kelly Cahill, but then you've also done like public TV interviews with your face on TV, and you're going to conventions, why would you change your name? Because someone would be able to recognize you and be like, that's not Kelly Cahill, that's Jane Doe.
Well, yes and no. I mean, the people that would be going to these conventions is probably not the people in your hometown.
Yeah, but if she's on a TV show like 60 Minutes or something.
Has she made it to 60 Minutes?
I don't know. It was like a news article. So
I don't know. Yeah. I think it would still give you some kind of anonymity.
Yeah, I suppose. But they didn't blur her face or anything, so
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Still.
But yeah, so some say she's now moved overseas to get away from the buzz, but who really knows? I mean, like I said, Kelly Cahill was a pseudonym. She's probably just living somewhere else in Australia with her real name now.
She's not living off book profits.
No. Maybe she's the one selling them on eBay for $500.
Maybe, but wouldn't it make more sense just to reprint them?
Maybe, but, after being mentioned in X-Files, she's like, oh, I can profit off this.
Yeah. X-Files will do that to you.
Yeah. But I took down a couple of important notes. As mentioned with the loss of time is actually quite common with alien abduction cases.
Yeah, there's a few things that were quite classic abductions. That's why I think the aliens being so different was, I don't know, jarring, I guess.
Yeah. So basically what happens with the loss of time is there tends to be a field of like an area. So where that electromagnetic field was, there'll be one around that area that where time reacts differently.
Yeah, sure.
So your clock, like in the first ever episode of X-Files, the clock stopped at like 9 p.m. or whatever it was. And those people were abducted. And then they were found the next day at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Generally, yeah.
Yeah. Think of it as like a small burst of an EMP. And that's what's...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Another thing, frequencies pulsating through the body is something that also happens to many abductees. Some people have said that the frequencies might be the aliens' way of trying to contact you, like to talk to you.
Right.
Because they can't speak,
Don't have the same kind of vocal cords, that we do.
It's like the frequency is, our brain isn't able to handle it.
Right.
So our body is what absorbs it, and we feel it. Same way that deaf people feel vibrations in the floor and stuff when they're listening to music. They listen to it with subwoofers so they can still feel the music through the vibrations. Similar to that, but it hurts.
Yeah.
Because it's going to your abdomen and your pain, like all sorts of like centers of your body and stuff. So you're feeling it in your body's core and everything. And they don't sometimes the aliens either don't realize what they're doing and therefore causing pain. That's why he was saying, we don't mean you any harm. So that's my theory, is that, they didn't realize that their sort of like translator or whatever was set to a frequency that humans couldn't understand. And so that was causing them pain. And that's when he said, we don't mean to cause harm, was when you could finally understand them, because he'd done his voice modulator or whatever. And I know that seems far-fetched because it's in sci-fi stuff, but I mean,
And that some people were affected and others weren't.
Yeah. But if you think about it, like maybe because it took the husband a long time to even come out with what had happened, and even then he wouldn't say what had happened because he didn't want to talk about it. So for all we know, he did feel it. He just the way he
too macho.
The way he saw it was not as an alien abduction, but as him being punished for a sin that he'd committed, because these were demons as far as he was concerned.
Yeah.
So the pain that he felt was not from them trying to contact him, but from these demons tormenting him and torturing him for some sort of sin that he felt he'd done and was needing to be atoned for.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my theory. Classic alien abduction story with a twist.
Those are our stories. I hope you enjoyed. Please vote for which one you preferred.
Mine.
Mine. You can do that on our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We do have posts specifically for voting. However, any comment that we see will be put into the tally and, of course, now into a competition.
As long as that comment is, I vote for Summer or I vote for Sam.
Yeah, and preferably which episode, just so we know which ones you prefer.
And also maybe even give us a little bit of an insight as to why you chose our story.
That'd be awesome.
What was it that drew you to, that swayed your decision?
Yeah.
We like reading that and like knowing what it is that you like about our stories.
However, if you don't want to go on social media to vote, you can email us campfireconspiraciespodcast@gmail.com, including also if maybe you have a scary story.
Yeah.
Or maybe something you would like, a topic you would like us to discuss. Hell yeah, email us.
We're always looking for new topics and new stories. And hell, if you're going to do the work for us, it just makes it so much easier.
Exactly.
So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And we will see you at the next campfire. Keep those fires burning.